Hello, so today I'm going to show you the basics of how to set up and then use a Google Classroom rubric. So first thing I'm going to show you is how to set up a rubric. So a rubric is a scoring tool that can explicitly describe the instructor's performance expectations for an assignment or piece of work. So I use rubrics all the time to speed up feedback I can give to pupils on work and to also let pupils know my expectations ahead of time. We've used paper rubrics in science in our department for many years, but with the onset of online learning, and so essentially paperless learning over the last year, I've become more and more used to using online rubrics, and I now find them easier and more versatile than the paper versions. I've used rubrics to mark or give feedback on written reports, investigations, essays, presentation videos, and many more. I've also used it as a quick way to mark single shorter pieces of work too, as again, they are extremely flexible. Now you can use a rubric on any assignment you make on Google Classroom. So I'm just going to make a really quick fake assignment. Okay, and when you start making your assignment, you'll start to see at the bottom here that this little add rubric button becomes clickable. When I click this, it gives me three options. I can create a rubric, reuse a previous rubric I've made, or import one from Sheets, which is useful if you've gotten a rubric from someone else. For today, this is probably the first rubric you'll have made in Google Classroom, so we're going to click Create a Rubric. You can then decide if you want your rubric to use scores or points. They don't have to if you just want to use it for written feedback, but I usually do assign points for this. Then you can create your first criteria. So the maximum number of criteria that you can have in a single rubric is 50, but I've never really gotten close to that. You need to have a title, but you can leave the description blank. So here I'm going to pretend that I'm scoring a report, and the first criteria I want to give feedback on is the front cover. So I could add a description here if I want to, but I'm going to skip this for now. Then I'm going to have 3 levels of feedback that I can give along here. Now you can have up to 10 levels going across the way here for feedback per criteria, but I'm just going to split this into 3. So I'm going to have bronze, silver and gold as the levels, but again, you can have whatever you want. So if a pupil is going to be gold for a criteria, I'm going to give them 2 points and I'm going to call that level gold. So it's handy if you can give detailed descriptions underneath for each, as the pupils get to see these as they create the report. So this will help them know how to aim for gold. So for gold, I'm going to say the front cover has a clear title, relevant image, and the author's name. Okay. Then I'm going to click add over here, and I'm now going to do my silver level. So my silver level is going to be worth 1 point, and the level title is silver. And my description here is going to say front cover is missing one of, and I'm going to say title, image, or author's name, because they're the 3 things I would like them to have. Finally, I'm going to add bronze, and here I'm not going to give any points if they're a bronze. And here what I'm going to say is that the front cover is missing more than one of, and again, title, image, or author's name. So that is me finished my first criteria, and then I can just go on and add more by clicking the Add Criterion button underneath here. So I could add a criteria on a contents page, the introduction, conclusion, references, or any other parts of the report that I want to grade or to give feedback on. Now, I will admit that making the rubric itself is the most time-consuming part, but once this is done, you can reuse it in the future. So I've made ones for presentations, one for investigations, and one for reports over the last year, and I've just made them really, really generic so that I can use them over and over again. Now, when I've decided that I've finished creating my rubric, I just hit save, and the rubric will be attached to the assignment. So you can see the rubric down here that I've just made. Another nice thing this does is it tells you the total points that's available. So obviously here it was only 2 because I just did 1 criteria. And then what I normally do is I normally change the points assigned on the actual assignment as well, so that the rubric can automatically update this later on, which I'll show you. Okay, so very briefly, I can also show you how to reuse or import a rubric. So if I've already used a rubric before on one of my Google Classrooms, I can get rid of this for now. And I can click Add Rubric and then Reuse. Now what this will do is it will bring up a list of all of my possible Google Classroom classes, and I'm going to choose my 3rd year because I know I used a few rubrics with them before. So what I'll do here is I'll click this the class that I know I used the rubric in before. I'll find the rubric I want, so I might want to use my life cycle presentations rubric again, and I'll click that and click select, and I'll add it here, and I can go through and have a look at this. You can edit as well if you want to, that's another option too. Okay, if you want to share a rubric with someone else to use, the best way to do this is to track down a rubric you've already used in your drive. Now, you can export rubrics by clicking this button here and clicking Export to Sheets, and that'll export it to your Google Drive. Now, if I then want to share this with someone, what I can then do is track down the rubric that I've made in my drive. So every rubric you make in Google Classroom is stored as a Google Sheet in a folder Google creates for you called Rubric Exports. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type in rubric on my drive, and you'll see Rubric Exports is here. Okay, so you can see all of the ones that I've used so far, including the one I made today that I just exported there. Now, one thing I will say is never, ever, ever touch these sheets apart from when you're sharing them. So if you open and edit any of these, you'll risk corrupting the whole rubric. You'll never use these as they are. They're basically made so that Google Classroom can then format them properly. And if you do touch them, then it might not be able to format them and that'll corrupt it. If you want to share this with someone, then I just right click as usual and then hit share, and then I can add in their email address and this will send it to them. Now, if I go back to Classroom and I'm that person that has received that rubric, so I've got it from you, the one that you've made, I can click Add Rubric, Import from Sheets, and I'll have it here. And I can basically attach that sheet. And again, I have the option to edit and then save, and then I have it there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how all of this looks from a pupil view once you've assigned it to them. So what I've done here is I've basically hijacked my poor husband's Google account, so you can see a pupil view, and I've also got my view. So this is the pupil view, this is the teacher view. Now I've assigned him a topical science report, which is due to tomorrow, okay? So as a pupil, I can open up the assignment and I have access to the rubric here. So I have access to the rubric as I'm writing my report, and I can see what I should be including to achieve a gold at each level. So if I was wondering for the front cover what I would need, I can see what I would need for a gold here. This means that as I write my report, I should be including and trying to achieve at gold at each level, and I know how many points each of the criteria are worth as well. I know that I try and remind my pupils to use this as a type of checklist before they upload their work. So let's imagine Callum has done his topical science report and now uploads it for me to mark. So I'll just do that here. Okay, so I've uploaded my topical science report as a pupil, and then I've handed it in. Now, if I go from a teacher perspective and I refresh my page, I can now see that he has turned this in. Okay, so I have his topical science report here, and what I want to now do is I want to use the rubric to mark it. So I can open up this assignment, and this is the best way to do it if possible. This means I can see the report that was written, what I should here, and then what I also can do is I can see the report, the rubric right beside it as well. So this makes it really, really quick to mark using the rubric, and it makes it all worth it as well. So I found the best way, as I said, to open this is to have it on a desktop, as the rubric feature is less than a year old and the iPad version of it's a bit iffy. So if you do it on a desktop, you can open it like this so that the report is right beside the rubric as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this report by clicking through each of the criteria whilst looking at Callum's work and assign him points. I can also add comments and suggestions just like usual if you're marking a doc, and you'll notice as I click the scores down the side, the total points is going to update. So looking at the front cover, we have the author's name, title and a picture, so I can give gold for that. And you'll see here that that's now updated to 2 out of 24. And I can just go down through all of these as I look at the report and fill them in. So at the moment, I'm just going to kind of go for some random ones just to show you how it would look. But it's really, really quick. As I'm reading, I can just move down and fill all of these in. Okay. Okay, so another thing you can see here as well is that the total rubric score is upgraded, but also the grade has as well at the top. So when I'm done, I can just click return and he'll get his full score overall, and I can also leave a comment as usual in the private comment section if I do want to add anything else. So then from Callum's point of view now, if I go back, he now gets his total score handed back along with his feedback for each section of the rubric, which he can then look at. So there's lots of feedback there about each criteria, giving him lots of information about his areas of strength and his areas for improvement in the future. So as you can see, using the rubric once it's been created is super simple. That was quite a long rubric. A rubric could just have one criteria if you want. I've had ones before that had one criteria, it's for a small piece of work, and I've wanted 3 levels, excellent, good, and requires improvement. Now, once the rubric is made, attaching it and marking it is super simple and efficient, and I now think that I'll be using this instead of paper ones that are always lost either by me or by the pupils. So this also allows people to come back to their feedback at any time and use it on future assignments, and it also reduces our workload in terms of marking and feedback, but still provides pupils with a wealth of information both before, during and after their assignment. I hope that's been really helpful. Any questions, let me know.